Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. JD here, live from the beautiful shores of Lake Tahoe. And just in case you think this is the view from my back window, I'm going to show you a little secret here. It's the miracle of modern technology. Let's see, how do I do this? Yeah, see, I can change. Like, I really wish I was on the Delta right now, actually. But anyway, that's our cool little background trick. And please excuse the funky little, I mean, this is going to be a gong show, this first go around. We need a green screen, and it's kind of funky. If I get too close to it, you get all this weird stuff. So anyway, who cares? It's fun. Hope this finds you guys well. Geez, well, crazy times, huh? I got, boy, what have I been doing? I've been sitting around doing nothing really. I canceled my fishing trips about 2 weeks ago, and I was supposed to be getting into striper season right now. And well, it's just not the time to do that. It's we're holed up here. Me, my wife, and kid are just sitting in the house, and we really haven't been anywhere. In fact, today was interesting. We ordered groceries from Safeway, which that in itself is a pretty cool concept. I'm definitely down with that in the future. Although the $16 delivery fee, and then there was like a 10% tip, which the guy worked hard, so I have no problem with that. But saved me from having to go to the grocery store and being around people. We haven't had any cases of it up here yet, confirmed anyway. But still, you never can be too safe in this day and age. And so the grocery thing was interesting because I get these $300 worth of groceries, and they come and they leave them on the step, and you kind of wave to the guy through the window and, hey, thanks for bringing them. And then it took, I don't know, 25 minutes. I had this spray bottle of rubbing alcohol, and so I'm outside on the front porch polishing my groceries, getting all the cooties off. I mean, you don't know if there's cooties on there, but just in case. And my neighbor walks by, he looks at me and goes, probably a pretty good idea. I just said, strange times we're living in, brother. And he said, amen to that. It's weird. I was just fun fishing until about a week and a half ago. I have a little 16-foot boat here, and me and the kid would go out, or I just go out in the morning. And they shut all the boat ramps down, and that's a bummer, because that was my therapy. I mean, that was kind of, you go out on the lake in the morning, catch a couple trout, or don't catch a couple trout, whatever it is. But it was, I don't know, it's just kind of, when you're out there in the middle of the lake, everything feels sort of, just normal. And if you've seen the news, they're shutting down Oregon, Washington, Idaho to recreational fishing, because people couldn't behave and not all gather up at boat ramps and all that stuff. So hopefully that's not coming, because I'm going to need a little fish therapy, as I'm sure many of you are. So in the meantime, what have I been doing? Like I said, not much. A lot of Netflix. Yeah, Netflix. I've been sitting around trying to, I don't know, get productive, and it's been hard initially. I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, tie some leaders or something, and that's going to happen. I think kind of the initial shock, a lot of these people, I think that I've talked to are feeling the same way. It's just kind of, at first you're just like, this feels like a dream. You can't even believe you're in this thing. And so anyway, I've been watching Netflix and kind of doing some stuff around the house. In fact, if this keeps going very much longer, my wife's going to realize how much more handy I am around the house than I let on all these years. So projects are going to be going, and I've been on the internet, and God, the internet, stay away from the internet, really. I mean, it's just a horrible thing, but because there's so much misinformation, and it's just, people are hating on each other. And gosh, right now, man, we just all need to, like, group hug kind of deal. It's just crazy. So but the meme, I don't know how you say it, meme. I don't know, that I guess you got to be under the age of 30 probably to understand the exact pronunciation of that. But the meme game has been strong with a lot of people out there. And I figured I'd show you a couple of my favorites from recently. And this one's pretty good. You know, pretty self-explanatory. Bigfoot, world champion. And this one's good too. I like this one. That's afraid I'm going to resemble that remark pretty soon. And there was another good one that I saw. It was on, oh gosh, what is those guys? Fly Lords. If I can find it here real quick. Oh, here it is. So you can't see it down on the bottom, but it says day 16 of the quarantine. They're building rafts and stuff. So I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, so again, thanks for tuning in, and have a pretty cool guest tonight. My buddy, Big Fred Contaoi, who I was going to say some of you know. Everybody knows Fred, right? I mean, Fred's the international man of mystery. So Fred is, boy, I should probably let you or let him tell you, but Fred is, where do you start? I mean, Fred has been a fishing guide since he was like 17. He's traveled and fished, I think, like 60 countries around the world. He was a booking agent or worked for a booking agency for fly fishing. So he was the host on trips from, you know, Argentina to Alaska to, you know, Mexico and the Yucatan. I mean, just, he's been everywhere. If you can name a spot, Fred has probably fished it. And I met him in 1998, I think it was 99. I first started guiding, and I was talking to Nick Amato, who is the editor of Freudian slip, Salmon Trout Steelheader magazine. And he said, "Hey, where are you guiding these days?" I said, "Oh, down on the Feather River." He said, "Oh, okay. Have you seen Big Fred?" I was like, "Big who?" Because, oh, come on, man, everybody knows Big Fred. And so I said, "Okay, well, what's he look like?" He goes, "Oh, you can't miss him. He's got like a 32-foot long drift boat, and he's like 9'10" or something. And he's a big dude. You can't miss him." So I looked for him on the Feather the next day, and I floated by this guy, and I said, "That's got to be him." I said, "Hey, are you Big Fred?" And he goes, "Who wants to know?" And that was my introduction to Big Fred. We have since become thick as thieves. We've been best buds for a long time. He is really responsible for helping me out. He took me under his wing as a guide when I was in the Feather River rowing a drift boat in circles and using bloody eggs and sardines or plugs without sardine wraps. And so anyway, he's really helped me over the years, and just been a great friend and a mentor as well. And so thought we'd bring him in and say hi to him. Let's see if we can make this happen. He's in the waiting room. So everybody, welcome Big Fred. Let's turn his camera on, huh? Hey, Big Fred, can you hear me? Oh boy, here we go. Technical difficulties already. Don't you love technology? Okay. You there, big boy? Huh. Well, he's not there. That's interesting. Okay, chat. You there? Well, I don't know what happened to my Big Fred. So let's try this again. Sorry, folks. This is technology for you. Put him in the waiting room and then take him out of the waiting room. Admit. Fred is connecting to the audio and can't hear you yet. That's what my screen is saying. Okay. Well, we will get there in a minute. So Fred and I got together. Oh God, what year was this? I wish he was on here so I could tell you, but he and I wrote a book together, and I'll show you this thing here. Side Drifting for Steelhead. Can you see that? Oh, there we go. There we go. You can see his name on there. Get out of the way. Fred and I wrote that Side Drifting book together, gosh, 100 years ago. And it was interesting because Nick Amato, again, from Salmon Trout Steelheader, asked us, "Hey, you guys want to write a book on this new technique, this hot new technique called side drifting?" And we said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So we did it, and it took Took a while. We went to Washington and fished with Clancy Holt, who is sort of known as the one of the guys who really started side drifting for steelhead, and interviewed him and fished with him, and it was pretty cool to go fish with a guy that legendary. And we fished with a bunch of guys, and just kind of got a. I mean, we'd been doing it ourselves, but it was cool to go get a some other perspective on side drifting for steelhead. And it was funny because about the time the book came out, the pink worm and jig and bobber craze hit the steelhead world. And yeah, the sales. Hey, there he is. Hang on, Big Fred's coming in. The sales of that book, by the way, just fell off because the technique was not really timely anymore. So, Big Boy, can you hear me? Hello. Fred Contaoi is connecting to audio and can't hear you yet. His audio did not connect. Try your audio again. Can't hear me, huh? Oh boy, don't you love technology? Oh, then he goes away. Fred lives in Trinidad on the beach, and it's an amazing place, but the cell service, although he has Wi-Fi, so he should be good. I don't know. Well, I see him. He's coming. He's coming. Let's there he is. He's connecting to audio. All right. So I don't think he can hear me. Oh man. Oh, my tech guy's texting me. What's his phone number? Okay. He's working on it. He's working on it. So anyway, hopefully Fred will get on here because we're going to have him talk about his rod company that he's the chief designer for these days, which is Douglas Outdoors. And it's based out of New York. And Fred's been with them now for, well, if he could hear me, I could ask him. But I would say close to 10 years. I can't swear to that right now, but I run all the Douglas rods, and they're really cool. And what's interesting is it was a company that kind of came out of nowhere. And because of Fred designing all these cool rods, they have been winning awards, especially in the fly world. I think it was in 2016. And again, if he could hear me, we could confirm this, but his Skyfly rod, the 5-weight, won the Yellowstone Angler shootout, which is, it's kind of like the, winning an Oscar or something, or the Grammy in fly rods. So that really put him on the map. And what was cool is he, through his stellar design skills, won it again with his 6-weight this year. So pretty impressive. And it'd be nice to hear his process. Let me take 1 second. I'm going to show you a cool picture of a steelhead that I caught a long time ago. Well, I text my text guy Fred's number. I hopefully can get him going. There we go. So I don't know. We're having, again, technical difficulties, and that's kind of a drag. But I will tell you, one of the things that has been really cool. Oh, he's connecting now. One of the things that's been really cool about being home is I can wear these around all the time. These are my shoes of choice. It's been I don't know, this laying around. Hey, we got Big Fred on. Can you hear me, Big Daddy?
I can hear you. I'm just trying to get back in here.
Yeah, technical difficulties as usual. That's
all right. Here we go. Here we go.
Okay, cool. All right, there he is, folks. The myth, the legend himself. So before, I was just telling him a little bit about Douglas. And was it 2016 that you won your first Yellowstone Angler shootout with that 6-weight?
I believe it was, yes.
And then you backed that up with a victory this year with the 5-weight Sky. Is it Sky Plus?
The Sky G.
Sky G, yo. So that's very cool. So we'll get into that. But before then, I was telling the folks a little bit about the mystery, the myths and the legends, and so we're gonna go on a little historical tour here, and I just want you to see if any of these photos ring any sorts of bells and see what you can remember about them. So we'll,
Okay.
we'll start with this one. Let me get out of the way here. Uh, look familiar?
Yeah, that's the Clan.
Yeah, Los Cookie Boys. And
Yeah.
so we got you're smoking the pipe. Nick Amato's got the crown and the 3D glasses. I've got the Gomer glasses right here. And then the mariachi guy in the sombrero, of course, is looks like Napoleon right there, almost with like the curly. But that is none other than Jim Teeny, fly fishing guru and innovator. And I don't remember where we were that trip. We were in Washington somewhere, and fishing wasn't very good, but the company was. So
Yeah, we had a good time, and I found a river agate that day, so that was pretty good.
oh yeah, I don't even remember that. Okay, so let's see if this one you probably shouldn't spell. Well, we can. This has Disneyland in the title. We'll leave it at that. So that was with our buddy RG3 at Bass Disneyland, and
Oh, okay, yeah.
and I think those that time was the first time I'd ever heard the phrase chatterbait, and I don't know if that's what you got there, but I feel like I had never heard of anything like that before, and apparently I was using some sort of crawfish thingy there, but I remember catching a lot of big bass. It was a cold day. So, all right, this one's pretty good. You have any recollection of that? What's
yes,
that?
hard at work.
Yes, hard at work. We got hired. Geez, the year escapes me, but we got hired to fish for science, which is always a fun gig. And they were long days. We were trying to catch predators for a study, and the long days certainly had some ill effects, as you can see there. But that was a cool gig. This is from that as well. There's old hot tub Carrie Burr. I'm not sure why she's kissing the striper. I threw that up there thinking maybe you might remember, but
no, I don't remember.
yep. So now this one, see if you remember where this is. And I wish I could get out of the way here so you can see your feet sticking out from below that. That was well, let's see if you remember where that was.
Yeah, that was in Washington. No, sorry, Tillamook area.
Yes, that was Copacabana Creek, as
Yes.
Riles would call it. And so our buddy lived by this little trickle of a creek in Tillamook, and he would go up there and he'd fish all the the classic rivers, the Wilson, the Trask, the Kilchis, and all those. And we kept saying, "What about this little creek by the house? Is it open?" And he said, "I don't know. There's some chums in it, whatever." And so finally, one day, I think his back was out or something, so we just decided to float it. And I don't know what we catch, like 22 steelhead that day or something. That was pretty epic.
Yeah, it was pretty epic.
And then we went the next day with Nick and Riles, and we did pretty well. But I think after that, never quite touched that again. So here's one that still kind of chaps my hide. See if I can get it up there. There we go. I'm sure recall that fish. How could you forget one that's like 50 pounds in chrome?
Yeah.
Chetco, I believe it was sometime in October, November. It had been dry the whole fall, and you said, "Hey, we need to go to the Chetco because it's going to be in this weekend, and it's going to be epic." And I was like, "Yeah, I just got done with like 5 months straight of salmon fishing. I'm over it. I got to stay home. I got to sleep." And then you fished by yourself. Well, somebody took a picture though. I don't, but it seems like you were rowing the boat by yourself. I feel like the story was, and you caught like 900 of them that day, and it really kind of was a bummer for me.
Yeah, Terry Buck took the picture, and it was pretty incredible when those fish finally made it in there. It was lights out.
So this one you weren't involved in, but this is when me and my brother and Tori, geez, I call him so many different things. Doesn't look like him though, right there. But we broke into your house while you weren't there and stayed there while you were somewhere. So everybody was toasting a beer to you. Hopefully you knew that story. And then this one, okay, so Vegas and
Mm-hmm.
Vegas. I'll tell the story. We were in Vegas for the what do you call it, ICAST show, and
Yeah, July.
yeah, and we've been at the show all day, and I'm starving, and I'm tired, and just like any show, you've been on your feet, you've been talking all that, and all I want to do is grab a burger or whatever, drive through. I don't care. I just need to eat. I haven't eaten all day, and you know how I get. So we start driving. We're going past a million drive-throughs. I'm like, hey, just stop there. I just want to go back to the hotel and fall asleep. Well, no. Fred gets on the phone and asks Siri for the best sushi in Vegas. And I was thinking, oh Jesus, this is going to take forever. It's going to be expensive. Blah blah blah. Well, we go to this place called, I want to say Sushi Samba, maybe. Is that what it was? Anyway, it was weird. It was like a Brazilian sushi, something else joint. It was like a combo. And so I thought, well, all right. And we're here, every once in a while, just live it up and, we'll have a 50, $60 per person dinner, whatever it is. And so the waitress comes up and you said, just bring us whatever, bring us your best stuff, which she saw as an invitation to bring us all the most expensive stuff. And what I do recall was it was a phenomenal meal. The the sake bottles were just exorbitantly expensive. And when the bill came, I'm thinking there's only three of us, you, me, and Andy Mill, right? And I'm thinking, oh, well, whatever. Even if it's $100, that was fun, cool. $100 each. You don't do that every day. The bill was, do you remember?
I want to say around $1,000 or something like that.
Yeah, a little less, but it was $700 and some odd dollars for three people. And I was like, oh God, oh man. So, and like an angel out of nowhere, Fred's boss at the time comes and picks up the tab without looking at it. And I'm sure he had something to say about that later. He's like, I'll pay for you guys. Three guys can't be that bad. And I'm sure when he got that little bill, that might have been my not so funny to him. So I always remember the $700 dinners. And speaking of food, okay, see if this you can't really tell this picture. So I'll just set this one up. So we were, as I said before, I get a little hangry, I guess would be the word, when I haven't eaten for a while, a little low blood sugar and grumpy. So we went to the lower Rogue at Gold Beach, and we trolled and we trolled and we trolled and we trolled and we trolled. And the Kings weren't biting that day. I mean, I think we may caught one right off the bat or something, but we're trolling back and forth and back and forth. And he wouldn't let me bring any food. Oh, we'll get food there. Nobody needs food. And Fred can, he can go for about 6 weeks without eating. So I go about 6 hours and I can't even see straight. I can't remember my name. So we're into like hour 8 and I'm going nuts. And so finally I convinced you, because we weren't catching anything. We're just trolling back and forth and back and forth. You wouldn't drop me off at that restaurant up by the bridge, but you did agree to go jig herring at the Jaws. And the ocean was, as you can see in this picture, flat calm. And we went and we called somebody was it Pavati Steve? We called and said, hey, where do we go? And he said, hey, I go right out to those rocks or whatever. And we had a pretty awesome day. That's the day the lingcod ate my water wolf camera too, if you'll recall.
Yeah.
So here's a good one. This one's recent. That was you were sleeping on the boat. That was this summer on Tahoe. That's when you had been to all the funerals and doing all that stuff. You guys were just zonked, and you fished for like 5 minutes and then the sun got to you. But I always love that photo. Pretty funny. Let's see if I got any
Sleep
other.
when you can.
What's that?
Sleep when you can.
Yeah, that's right. And so, okay, how about this one? This one was at Lake Berryessa, and it was the first time and hopefully only time I ever go over 70 miles an hour on the water. And we went from Markley Cove, I guess it was, to the Puda Creek Bridge and back in about 8 seconds. And and I'm sitting in the middle seat, so not that there's a big windshield on a bass boat anyway, but the middle seat has nothing. And I just remember sitting there, and it's going so fast, the air was filling my mouth. I couldn't see. And I looked down, I could hardly turn my head, but I looked right over at the speedometer, and then we're going like 71 miles an hour. And I kept elbowing him. I'm like, dude, I got a wife and kid, no mas. He's like, oh, that wasn't fast. You should see it in a tournament. So I just kept thinking, that boat was just, the only thing that was in the water was prop. And I guess you bass guys get used to that. But as a slow jet boat guy or drift boat guy, that was beyond my comfort level. And speaking of jet boats, how about this one? So you recall that situation where I was a little perturbed, right?
Well, I can't really see the picture, but
Here.
so maybe clue me in on that one.
So that is
Um,
you, me, and Riles went to the Portland boat show. I was going to go see my new jet boat that Pavati was building for me. And
Right.
they said, hey, we're going to paint this up because it's going to be the show boat, and then you can pick it up after the shows. And we get there, and I knew they had painted it black on the inside. I didn't know they painted it black on the inside, however. And I just remember going, are you kidding me? In Sacramento, in 105 degrees, I'm going to sit in a black boat? No effing way, bro. And this was you two guys just kind of like taking one for the team, trying to make me feel better. Oh no, it'll be all right, guys. It's all right. No, that was a boat. If you recall, I said, hey, I can't take this boat. I'm gonna die in this thing. It's too hot. And so they, to their credit, old Chuck Gross took it to the Anchorage Boat Show and sold it up there, and then made me my white one, which I had for a long time. But I think I have a couple more here. Here's I don't know where that is. That might be the South Fork Eel, maybe. Just some random steelhead trip. There's another one. Oh, so how about this one? This was a little sadder moment. Do you remember the brown steelhead? Let me get out of the way. The one and only brown steelhead we ever caught?
I do, but I think it was on the Trinity, right?
Yeah, it was 2002 was the year that all the fish were dead due to that huge die-off.
Yeah.
We floated down it, and that was the one fish we caught. There were no salmon, and we caught this steelhead that the gills were all rotted out, and he was brown. And it was just like, this ain't right. So we ended up fishing down at the confluence. Remember that, for a whole month, just in one hole every day. And I thought I had a picture of that somewhere, but I guess not. Yeah, we'd put the boat in there and we just did our whole season right there, and we caught fish. But man, that was crazy. And then of course, it's your days when you were the Orange County chopper bass guy. What year was that, or what years were those? Do you remember?
Starting 2006 and finishing in 2010.
So he was on the show. You remember the big, what are they, the Tuttles? The big burly guys. Was the show called Orange County Choppers? Or what was the show called?
American.
Oh, right.
American Choppers.
Yeah. And until you got that gig with them, I always thought Orange County was the LA Orange County, not the New York one. But anyway, that was cool. And then one other one I had, which was I'm sure you'll remember this one. This was a cool one. That was with that little Shimano Claris rod.
That was a 10-foot long sturgeon.
Yeah, that we caught back on that research project. Anyway, so that just is kind of cool, fun stuff. So let's get on to I'll get back in my little perch here. And so as far as Douglas goes, what's the process when you go to design a rod? Like at some point you must, and I don't know the exact process, but you go, okay, I need a I need a plug rod for steelhead in this lineup, or I mean, how does that all work when you go to start designing rods? What's the what's the process? Because I think people just kind of don't really know much about it, including myself.
Yeah, well, so with fishing rods, it's kind of interesting, or any type of equipment. First, you have to have a need. If you take salmon and steelhead fishing, for instance, there's far less techniques than bass. So spinner fishing, bobber fishing, back bouncing, side drifting, et cetera, that pulling plugs, for instance, like you said. So you try to put the best elements of design into a rod.
Right.
In essence, if you just went to whatever store and you bought a 9-foot casting rod, which is, arguably the best and most popular steelhead rod of all time, fast action. If you put a plug on the end of that and rode yourself down the river, you would miss about probably 8 out of 10 of the fish. You would either hook them briefly or lose them somewhere in the fight. Because what happens when that steelhead eats the plug, it's wiggling, they come up, grab it, and then they turn and they head down the river at usually a pretty high rate of speed. If the rod is too stiff, it just pulls the plug right out of their mouth. So in designing a rod, we would make something that would be soft, not unlike glass. These days, we don't build a lot of glass rods. We do build some glass in the tips, but in essence, if I took a rod like that, and if it bent just barely at the tip, it would read the plug well,
right?
But to bit it, it would be too stiff. So you'd want something that bends way deeper into the blank, almost down to the grip, and it pump, and then the fish is on.
But
so
it's still got to have the power to lift when you get a fish close, a big fish, you still got to be able to lift it. And so that must be the trick, because the old glass rods didn't have that. They were great for the takedown, like on a steelhead, but once you got them to the boat, they bent to the reel, so there's got to be some science to getting the lower end with some power, and then the top end with that softness, right?
No, that's true. So in this particular rod, we would build glass into the tip and then gradually stiffen the rod up down towards the butt section. So this end of the rod has very little bend until the rod's totally loaded, then it bends. But you would want the power down at the butt to control that fish, pull it away from snags, or if it starts to go over a riffle, you can, pull back on it. Otherwise, it's going to bend all the way to the grip. So you identify the need and what that particular rod needs to do for the particular fishing. So if you took the opposite end of the spectrum, you might be fishing for bass with a jig, with a big hook, and you're down, as far as you can cast it out there on a 7.5 foot rod, and the thing bites it, it's just a tick, and then you set the hook. Well, if you had that same plug rod we use for steelhead, it would just take all the bend, and the fish would pump for a second, then be gone. Right. So the opposite is true there. You want a pretty stiff rod in order to get the hook into them. But so depending on what technique it is, you're building a rod either soft or stiff or whatever, and it's not just the bite, it's also fishing the lure, feeling the bottom, like drifting for steelhead. You want to feel every rock and feel the difference of when that fish just barely pulls, so you want super high sensitivity. So you have to have a rod that's complementary to all of those things. So you just can't, it's like you can't go play golf with one club.
Right.
So you have clubs, and I was always gave you a hard time when we were younger guiding. You'd have like 3 rods in the boat, and you'd have like 30. So I always felt
that hasn't changed that much.
being versatile with lots of different techniques would make my day go better. Whereas at the end of the day, you might have, 2 different techniques. I have 11.
Yep.
At the end of the day, we've caught about the same amount of fish, but it's just, if you were tournament bass fishing, you need a lot of different techniques in order to stay up with the times.
Right.
Salmon are a little different.
So the part that kind of would be overwhelming to me, and I've seen you with your copious notes and all the, I mean, it's not like you just say, oh, I want a 7.5 foot rod with a, rated 8 to 12, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's so much more complicated than that. Gosh, you should see the notes that this guy has and all the, I don't even know what your little tool is, your little measuring thingy majigger. That's a technical term, by the way. But, because you think about these days, especially with all these technique specific rods, you've got, you got to think about not only the action and what you're fishing for, but what kind of lines the guy going to use with it, or the angler going to use with it, what kind of lure technique, and the spacing of the guides, and what size reel are going to have a 4,000 spinning reel on there or 2,000. So you got to have the balance. And it just seems like, I wouldn't even know where to begin, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, weight and balance plays a big part in the game too. So if you're fishing a rod all day and it's so tip heavy that it's just a labor to fish with, that's no fun. But so when you get into really highly refined equipment, you'll find that there are things like, high-end guides with corrosive finishes so they don't corrode in the salt or brackish water, good inserts so they don't become grooved because of braid, ergonomic handles, good locking reel seats. For instance, I don't like to feel any threads, so I build every single rod we make without having the threads are always hidden. So comfortable in the hand, balanced. Some rods have hook keepers, some don't. Some have full rear grip, some don't. It's just a whole different thing. And I'm a firm believer, of course, in the foregrip. That's been a big feature in rods for forever, but they've sort of gone away from that. But I still feel like that classic look and feel is still good. So, and some grips on some rods will make the foregrip, this long, 7 or 8 inches, because we're, pulling against a fish maybe in deep blue sea, or fighting a king for 30 minutes while it's, going down the river. So you have different handle shapes and lengths for different techniques as well.
How do you, this probably has fly rod implications too, but how do you make like a center pin float rod that's, 12, 13 feet? You guys make a couple, or used to anyway. I don't remember if they're still, but I mean, you're talking 12-foot rods, and that seems like that's a real crazy challenge to try to make that, be in balance without just being tip heavy and funky.
Yeah, it is. And that's really one of the bigger challenges when you get into really long rods. They'll feel like holding on to the end of a 2x4, unless it's designed to where it's taper, where the balance is down towards the butt end of the rod and the tip is still very light. One of the things with the center pin rods, and they're typically 11 foot 6 to 14 feet long, we make a laugh and a 13 foot 6 rod in 4 pieces. Usually when you're center pin fishing, it's dead of winter, it's cold, it's icy, and one of the things that is usually lacking to make the rod so light in the hand is you put a little tiny guide all the way up the tip. Well, the second that rod goes in the water and then comes out, the guides are iced up. Well, you got to go break the ice out of the guide. So one of the things that I do is I still put an 8 or 10 millimeter size guide at the whole tip end of the rod to clear the ice, like where our company is up in central New York on the Salmon River. It's bitter cold all winter long. People are fishing in the snow, in the ice, and ice is an issue every day. So the guide size is also an element in that. And then again, the balance, but you use a fairly good size reel and you balance it. Usually there's a sliding scale of where you can put the rings so that you can balance the rod out so it feels good in the hand. Because there's no fun fishing with a heavy rod.
Right. We just got a question from Brett Phillips. Where's the best place to buy Douglas rods online?
Where is the best place? Well, we have retailers from coast to coast, from RMI, Tackle Direct, Monster Tackle, East Coast to West Coast. It just depends on where you live and who you like to shop with. We have fly rods with lots of retailers and spinning and casting, from one end of the country to the other. Best way to go is just go to douglasoutdoors.com and look at our dealer locator. And we have all of our online retailers as well as they're all brick and mortar, but they also have maybe a shop in Colorado or California, wherever you might be going. So we got Brad, aka Jabberwocky. Is that ring a bell? He says it does. It's not Jabberwocky, it's Jabbertalkie.
Oh yeah, that's right. I read it wrong. Jabbertalkie. Well, we can guess where he got that name, but he was commenting with, he says, Douglas rods are very well balanced and beyond great. So there you go. You got a fan. Well,
awesome.
You got a fan of me too, obviously. And the cool thing is, at least, in my little sphere out here in California, the boys are really starting to get behind Douglas, and it's not just because, it's like, oh, hey, my buddy's the designer guy. It's that they believe in the rods. I mean, the rods are awesome. They really are. And my whole arsenal is Douglas now. And I've fished everything from Lamb and Glass to Loomis and all the top rods. And Douglas is, right there or above in my opinion. So, it's when you fish them every day, like those of us who guide do, before we stopped fishing and stayed home all the time, but that's, yeah. So what do you, I was going to post that picture that you and Julie have been sending me. He and his lady have been tormenting me with these sushi pictures that they've been making. What else you guys been doing quarantined? At least you got, the beach right there. Sounds like you guys have been doing some perch fishing and kind of getting out, huh?
Well, I think right now being responsible is probably the biggest thing with what we've got going on health-wise from one end of the, world to the other. There's, and we're the epicenter now, obviously the U.S. Yep. But we have snuck out twice for probably less than an hour each time when there was no one around down at the beach and did a little bit of perch fishing. But it seems like most of that is coming to a close, and maybe for good reason. I know Washington State cut all sport fishing off as of yesterday, and if you go down to Lake County, all waterways are closed to fishing. And I think it's not that they're trying to punish the fishermen; they're just trying to
keep people apart.
Help us not spread the COVID-19, and I think it's the right thing to do. The sooner we can get on the other side of it and hopefully figure it out with some vaccines or a cure, then we have to just kind of knuckle down. So right now I'm spending a lot of time in the office working designs. Every year you have to come out with new product, and we're always pushing the envelope with materials and whatnot. And for us, what makes the difference is we build rods for people who make a living catching fish, whether on the fly side or on the conventional side, shallow saltwater to, trout and down in Georgia. There's just we build rods for everything, but we feel like we can enhance the fishing, your experience on the water. There's nothing better than a reel with a super smooth drag, or a rod that just, sings. It's, I guess, for you, like you pick up a guitar, some pieces of equipment just feel legitimate.
Yeah.
They do the right things. So,
Well, and that's what's always been impressive to me about your rods is that you've spent so much time thinking about them and really envisioning what the uses will be. So that's cool. We got another question really quick, actually. Fred was talking about the tip and the sensitivity. If you are pulling plugs or spinners with heavy weight on the bottom, doesn't that counteract the whole idea of a sensitive tip? From Amy Kaler. So,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it sounds like they're potentially back bouncing or fishing maybe a 10-ounce weight down in tidewater for salmon. So it's different than a steelhead plug rod. A steelhead plug rod will never have weight on it. It's just the plug working against the current. Whereas if you're trolling or stationary, anchored with a 10-ounce sinker, maybe back bouncing a quick fish, or fishing in tidewater where you just got the triangle flashers and a anchovy or a herring behind it, the sensitivity that's less important. But where it comes in is the reading the graphite is being able to read whether you have something on your anchovy or on your herring or on your cut plug that all of a sudden that little tick comes out of it shows up in the whole rod. So it's not just the sensitivity from a feeling standpoint, it's also for you to be able to read the rods as well. So if you're using a bunch of weight, it reads further into it, not right at the tip. So it's reading it maybe in the curve, maybe in the center of the rod.
So you still have that tip where you can feel the plug or the spinner, but also be able to handle that weight. So, oh boy, I don't know if I should even read this one from Dale Hutchins. I should probably proofread it before I say it out loud. Are we going to get some of our favorite one-piece salmon plug rods in a two-piece version so I can take more up of the Douglas line to Alaska this fall? Well, Dale, Fred has an answer for you.
It depends. I do have some two-piece rods. I'm working on more. It's just, I think we have like 150 different models of rods, and just a few of us that are in my department, other than sales, that are working on to, the next thing is three-piece rods and two-piece rods. And yes, that's a great question. So it is something we're working on. I do have a two-piece rod just over here in this rack right here. Mm-hmm. One of those racks that I've been working on, and one of our guys took and tested it in Alaska last fall. So we do a great deal of R&D work as well, and send it out with people like JD and yourself going to Alaska. So you might be the lucky one to take it this fall.
Yeah, well, he'll be twitching for silver. So he I don't know why you'd want a plug rod for that, because fish plugs that much up there on the Togiak. But speaking of demos, I was thinking about it. I was cleaning out my shed the other day because what else are you gonna do? And I was cleaning off those 4 bobber dog prototypes, or bobber fishing, bobber/bobber dog prototypes that you let me use this. God, I used them, like I was in there with Tamara and I was like, God, I got kind of misty eyed. I thought, man, I fished those 4 rods more than any rods this year. Didn't break them, knock on wood. And holy mackerel. I mean, these were rods that Fred knew I was doing a lot of bobber dog, and he said, well, what do you want in a bobber dog rod? And the rods I had been using were just converted salmon or steelhead drift rods, basically, that were a little too stiff. A lot of times we're throwing pretty light weight and light lead or light bobbers. And so I wanted a rod with a little more kind of soft tip, like we were talking, almost I mean, they could almost serve as plug rods, really, because they sort of fit that same mold, soft tip, but a lot of power in the bottom end. And those things, I fished them all fall on the Feather River for salmon, the Trinity, the Klamath, the American. I mean, I fished them for steelhead all winter. I mean, holy smokes, those are really killer rods. I wish I could remember the model names off the top of my head. I'm terrible at that still, but those are, at least a couple of those are now available, right? I know some of them were maybe back ordered or something, but
Yeah, it's not back ordered. We just have not put in the X Matrix into production yet, but there are 2 LRS rods that are really dedicated bobber rods, if you will, for either bobber dogging or fall Chinook salmon fishing. They're 9 foot 8 inches long, so they're a 9 foot 8 4-power and a 9 foot 8 5-power. And it's funny you say casting a lightweight and soft. I actually built these rods pretty stiff,
right,
for a few different reasons. Yes, you have to cast it, so it has to be soft enough to do that. But the other thing is, and listening to you and the others that make their living, especially bobber dogging, like Shane up on Umpqua, or yourself, or Alan Borges, guys that are doing a lot more bobber dogging. You have braid and you have a long distance perhaps between you and that cork, and one of the things you need to be able to do is get that hook into them with all that slack line and the fish potentially coming at you. So they're actually stiffer throughout, but then keeping them just soft enough to where you can cast them. Because Justin Kelly from RMI was a great help in putting the rods together, and he said most of them are just too soft and the guys just don't get the hooks into them. So a big part of it is doing market research and then finding out from people who do make their living catching fish, whether retired or whatever. But for instance, they definitely know what goes on with the equipment and what works and what doesn't work. So yeah, so we're pretty excited about the 2 bobber dogging rods, and really, we kind of barely touched the surface of it this fall and this winter, but by next fall we should have good placement, from one end to the other for the areas that fish the bobber dog style.
I would happily bring them back to you, but social distancing and all, I'm going to have to hang on to them for a bit. So sorry about that.
Well, I know they're dyed red at this point in time.
So, well, my man, I sure appreciate you coming on. This was fun. We'll have to do it again. We had a little technical difficulty snafu there at the beginning, but that's to be expected. And yeah, stay safe, say hi to Julie, and man, just let's grind through this whole thing. And can't wait to go fishing with you guys again. And we're gonna put Julie on a big old brown trout sometime this fall, or this summer anyway, hopefully. So
yeah, well, that's what's exciting. I mean, there's a lot to come up. It's not the end of the world. It's a good time to maybe get your tackle together, maybe send your reels in for servicing, and get fresh line on stuff, because it's not going to be forever. But it is a good time to kind of get your tackle together and get ready. Maybe tie leaders for next fall if you're going side drifting for kings or whatever, like up on the Klamath.
If I don't have all my leaders and everything tied up, real spooled up, everything for at least a year's worth of supply, then I'm a moron, because I have more time than I know what to do with right now, and I haven't tied a single thing yet. But as I was talking about in the intro, this first few weeks of this, everybody's just kind of been in a blah mood, It's like, God, this is so surreal, and just haven't been that motivated. But I put myself on a schedule. I'm like, I don't even know what day it is, and that's what's crazy, staying home. So I'm having to actually get a little more regimented to start to be productive here. So but anyway, yeah, you're right. You made a good point, and my brother brought it up the other day too. He's like, this will end. I mean, we don't know when, and the ramifications are going to be it's going to be a grind for sure, and everybody's suffering, but it will end, and life will go on, and I was getting all excited about having this new boat up here and, kind of changing my whole career path to being up here on the lake, and being in the tourist town isn't the greatest idea right now. Who could have foreseen that? I mean, I can't complain. We have a roof over our heads, we have food, and we're healthy. So it's stressful and scary, and the unknown is tough. But I mean, what are you going to do? Just grind it out, stay home and grind it out. So again,
a little levity to the situation.
Yeah, that's right. We'll get back to there we go. There's me in a little while after the quarantine. So hey, all right, man. Well, I sure appreciate you coming on, and we will we'll talk soon. I don't know when we'll see you next, but hopefully sooner than later. Peace out. So we'll
all right. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for coming, and we'll catch you later. And that will be about it for this go around. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will catch you next time. I haven't gotten rid of Fred yet, apparently. Let's see. Let's remove him. Oh, I hit cancel. There we go. Technical difficulties on the front and the back end. Well, yeah, whatever. So again, stay safe, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next episode of Fish with JD TV. See ya, and be